Hi, this is Billy for Diginauts, and today I want to have a look at some games on itch, specifically itch.io, which is a sort of unique place to get video games, and it's unique for a couple of reasons. One, it focuses on a lot of sort of small creators. Anyone can upload there, anyone can put their game out, and often there's a lot of free of charge games on there, which is actually the part I want to focus on. Video games are actually in quite a weird spot at the moment. We have mammoths like Steam, who obviously produce, I think it's up to 200 games a week or something like that, and the numbers are crazy, and so getting discoverability out there for smaller studios and smaller people is actually getting increasingly difficult. And I suppose there was probably a perfect time with Steam where if you could get on Steam, you were going to sell your game and you were going to do really well for it. Well, what I want to sort of do is have a look at the new platform, the newer platform, it has been going for a while, but the newer platform of itch, and what they're doing there, and sort of shout out some games that I've played and sort of say, hey, come look at these games, and sort of analyse what's going on in this space as well, because it's not really a space I'm familiar with. And I think there's stuff to talk about and stuff to look at, and probably some really interesting things going on, and it's interesting things that I do not know about, and I want to find out. So, the first game is going to be Roguelite. Roguelite. I'll sort of get into that concept in a second. I've played about 10 minutes or so of it. It's a game by Daniel Linson, and the audio is by Jonathan Tree, as it says at the top. Controls very similar to Cave Story, if you've ever played that. I'm not actually sure where this way goes. Interesting. The concept's pretty simple for this game. You have a limited light source, as you can see, sort of going out here, which will get smaller and smaller. And the light source is done through your bow, which is your main source of attacking. So you sort of have to balance your ammunition with your ability to take down enemies with your health. They're sort of your main resources, and you've got to go down to get to the bottom of a dungeon. With it being a roguelike, death is permanent. It's sort of a run-based game. And if you shoot the lights, you get that. Oh, this run might be over very soon by the looks of it. But yeah, it's a run-based game, and the idea is to sort of upgrade as you go, which is not an uncommon sort of game philosophy and game choice design these days. And obviously you've got to get as far as you can through the dungeon. Oh, I thought I'd use my last arrow there. Get as far as you can through the dungeon, and I don't actually know if there's an end to it or not, but my controls all of a sudden want to be very sticky. But did I just use my last arrow? Yes, I did. Yeah, so the upgrade shop that you'll find in between levels is actually fairly decent, and it offers a lot of progression, a lot of moving forward. This is the one issue I found with the game. So sort of in a position now where I've got no or low arrows. So obviously that's my main method of traversal and finding my way across the level. It can actually be very hard to get to a stage of finding where you need to go within this one arrow. And obviously that is kind of the challenge of the game, which I don't mind, because it's sort of what's intentionally designed. My only issue is, in situations like this now where I've got no light source, okay, I've found some, is it can be very hard to kill yourself. And you might be asking, why do you want to kill yourself? Well, see, I've got 9 coins at the bottom of the screen there, down to level 2. That's what usually is followed by a large drop. Well, I want to spend those and... Oh, boys. I want to spend those and get better. Upgrade. No, there we go. Well, here's the shop anyway. Yeah, you want to spend those coins and upgrade, get better, progress that way. So here's your shop. It's actually got some stuff at the bottom that's fairly unique. I was going to say, the initial sort of purchases here are fairly simplistic. It's +1 health, less damage, more coins from lanterns. I will get that, because shooting lanterns is good. And you can see which ones I bought already here. That's cool. But it seems at the bottom there are more than just more health like that. What does that mean? I'm not sure, but that's kind of cool. So do you have to unlock it? Oh, it's a lot of money. So I'm assuming there's a fair progress level, because I've so far not got much from each of my games. But it's actually assumed that there's a fair amount to go. Initially, I'd say I've not played loads of... Oh, cool, you can shoot the flies. My jump seems to be a lot stickier. I'm not sure if it's due to recording or what. Interesting. Anyway, normally I'd jump up and do that and get a couple of coins. But yeah, this seems like a neat little package. It seems like a neat little game. I haven't really, you know, it's not mind-blowing, but I do like the sort of dual use of your main form of attack actually being your light, sort of balancing that with your health, and I enjoy resource balancing in games anyway. Damn it, again. Yeah, the only sort of issue I've seen so far is I've actually only seen 2 enemy types, I think, but it's still so super early. But for a free game, it seems really well polished. It seems to have a decent sort of core idea of what it's doing. And it actually feels fairly compelling to go through and upgrade yourself, and it's a reason that that sort of game design philosophy is used fairly often. Oh god. I thought there was a way down there. Well, we want to get that because that puts us on a decent amount of money. But even getting that small upgrade, I often find with games like this, it's a sort of a snowball situation. So, because I got the upgrade that allowed me to get to, I've just used all my ammo. Good choices there by Billy. Because I've, yeah, I'm dead. Because I've used all my... Yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say. It doesn't matter. What do we want next? Belt, more health. Ah, these are actually named. It'd be cool if they had little designed motifs for each of them, but obviously it's not really necessary, is it? Damage, free arrow, +1 arrow. That sounds really decent. Especially in a game where it's such a limited resource. Yeah, it seems like a well-polished thing for what it is, and it's kind of cool. I like the aesthetic as well, personally. Yeah, my worries with this game, if I was to play it more, would be the case of how much more is there to see, sort of thing. Obviously, there's some upgrades that are costing 200 odd coins, which is a fair amount. So it seems like there's a fair amount to do. But it'd be cool to see, you know, sort of as you progress further down the levels, you actually see different levels and levels merge and change as you delve deeper into this cave, seeing different enemies and seeing different things that you have to fight. Which is normally the case with sort of roguelites, and a lot of roguelites in their design philosophy is actually a progressive exploration, whether that's through the items, mechanics, or, you know, sort of enemies and surroundings. I think it's a lot of the pull for them, especially because each run's going to be different. And often with the case with these sort of games, you know, your first... Oh, I'm not doing well at that. Your first few runs will be fairly similar because you are having to repeat the section to get the upgrades required to progress. I do like this art style. It would just be, you know, I recently sort of critiqued 20XX saying, I've got enough for anything there, saying that, you know what, there's got to be a reason behind procedural generation. It's got to serve a purpose in the design of a game. It's got to actually aid the developer for some reason. That's usually, you know, continued being able to put out more content out there without as much work, and sort of actually give the player more for their money. and that game didn't have it. And I think if this game achieves the diving deeper aspect and actually seeing more levels and the procedural generation is working, you know, it's not left me in any shitty situations. And I think the shittiest situation is actually when you are out of materials. It's when you are out of resources such as I'm so shit at that. Arrows, and your light sources limited. It can actually there's an escape button here, or a retry button. That doesn't let you keep your gold at the bottom. That's one thing that I've found is flawed with this. So you actually, in reality, if you can't go on any further or you're not having a particularly good run, and you've got some currency that you want to spend, you're actually in a better situation dying, so you can go to the shop, then press and retry. And it would just be nice as a little convenience thing to have a button there to click and say, hey, I just want to go to the shop, I want to finish this run, and be able to go and spend my money, instead of having to go and find a way to die if you can't find any more arrows. But that's pretty much the only issue with this game, and the music actually is giving me sort of, the whole game, now I think about it, it's giving me sort of Game Boy vibes, especially with the music, which is really kind of cool. Let's keep on pushing through this life and see if it leads us anywhere. Here's the one problem with sort of having darkness in these games, is one of the reasons games like Spelunky, you know, sort of one of the better roguelikes out there in a lot of people's opinions, works, is because you can see what's in front of you, but having this combination of having the darkness, which you have to move forward, gives you sort of an air of trepidation and wanting to take your time and make sure, you know, you're not wasting resources getting through the darkness. Which then goes counter against making good decisions in some ways. But at the same time, the aesthetic's cool, the gameplay's cool. I'm just being overly critical here. I actually kind of like it. For a free fucking game, I've seen worse from other people. I've seen worse that you have to pay for, and that's the amazing thing. Obviously, this may not have the progression, but you could happily pay couple of quid for a game like this. Yeah, fucked myself here. Pay a quid or a couple of quid for a game like this over some shite on Steam. But I think that's just the way it is at these days. Right, let's see if we can get up there. Make good use of this last arrow. Boom. You see, I'm getting more gold each run, and that leads me to feel like I'm doing better, and I am doing better. Which is always fun. I like doing better. Yeah, see what I mean? Sort of jumping around in the dark, hoping for the best. Yeah, I think that's enough of this game anyway. I think it's a cool concept. Really like it. Yeah, a little bit more on this sort of format. I'm going to try and do 3 games or thereabouts, around 30 minutes, and just give them a bit of time to breathe and show you what they're about. I suppose a short break while we wait for the next game. Hi all and welcome back, and this time it's with Right Click to Necromance, a game by Juicy Beast. I can't remember who the audio is by, I will try and link it if I remember to. It's a cool little game. Played a few minutes of it so far. I actually quite like it. It really reminds me, I don't know if you've ever played or heard of a game called Agario, or Agar. Basically it's another website, you go to it and it's sort of giant blobs going around. It's got a similar theme to that. Basically, as you go along, you are a necromancer, unseen, and you want to take out these little mobs. And as you do, you can then have the chance to resurrect them to create an even bigger squad to go and take out more. There's a little bit more to it than it may seem. It's a lot of picking your fights and knowing when to run away and sort of sizing up your enemy. You know I can beat him easily, and there's no enemies nearby that can sort of join in, because I died fairly quickly in my first few games because of big squads like this and going and taking fights that I could win on their own, but then being ambushed. But yeah, it's got a nice little progression to it. It keeps going up, and actually, to be honest, I always like games that can be played with simple inputs. It's 2 buttons, left click, right click. I really want to get a group of these guys, but they seem to absolutely slaughter me each time. So let's see if we can get us around this time. Yes! First time I've caught those out. So hopefully we can use those to get these. But yeah, it actually, it reminds me some of the sort of theory. Hopefully I can take these out quick enough to, yeah, take these out. Some of the sort of theory that's in RTS. There's a lot of, to play better, you want to sort of get a concave around your enemy. You want to sort of surround them, because then you're doing more DPS from different sides. It's actually one of the more effective ways of playing. And yeah, this game shows that, definitely. Which is cool. Okay, this is actually the furthest I've got so far as well, within a few games. But yeah, apparently this game was actually part of a game jam, which I'm always a bit more dubious to play games off them, but it seems to have come quite well rated, and I wanted to have a go. Yeah, it's got a nice flow to it. It's got a nice little back and forth and pick your enemy fights, as I say, and it's satisfying to see yourself build up to this extent. Okay, this might be more than I can handle. Go on. And as always in games, when you can pick your fights, you get cocky. See, was this worth it? I'm going to win. But at what cost? Am I going to win? Ah. Yeah, run away now. Lure the mouse. Oh yeah, there does seem to be a bigger beastie down here as well. That's a possible thing of attackment. Thing to attack. Thing of attackment? Yeah, you kind of want to pick off... it seems like you want to pick up fights that are much smaller than you. So you take minimal losses whilst getting the most out of it. So you always want to try and have overwhelming numbers. I want to get him. Want some little dudes. But yeah, it's got that nice flow. It's got that, okay, where's the next fight? Where's the next fight? You know, an ebb and flow to it, a stop and start, which is, I think, something a lot of games have. And I would love to see this game fleshed out a bit further. And even though I'm not a game developer, I've never made a game in my life, if I could say how I would like to see that, it'd be cool to see this sort of go into a campaign focus where you kind of, like, you initially start out and all it has is small dudes, you know, keeping with this theme that's clearly inherent to it and is a pretty cool theme. Ooh, next level up dudes. Instead of having it all just progress on one map, which, yes, is fun. It'd be cool to have sort of an overview map which you can go down, perhaps even powerful unlocks for yourself. I reckon I can take these fuckers. Yeah, that sort of thing. Something to sort of... I need to take out him. That's one thing I've noticed. If you don't take out an entire group, you can't necromance single parts of it. I can't seem to necromance it at all. Check out my army though, dude. Yeah, and it just kind of keeps progressing like this. I do like the theme. It's got a almost quite silly look to it, but it plays really nicely and really fits the sort of music that's in the background and what's going on and what you're actually playing through. You see, that's the other thing about doing this sort of video. I don't know what's sort of out there. I don't know what's popular. You know, this might be a really popular concept and theme that I'm just completely missing out on. I might have picked a... See, this is what happens. You end up picking a fight which you just cannot win. Go on. It's close. Yes. Yeah, we can take those. Actually, that spread shot is kind of not as advantageous because it splits up who you're fighting against. I kind of want to keep on going and see where it goes, but there might be stuff for you to play here. Yeah, this is a cool little concept. I say I think you could add some fairly silly but lore that's not going to be like harming to the game. Keep it tonally sort of similar to what's happening, and add a few more units to it, and you could have something here. I want to try and take out that dude. It's starting to get a lot more move. Even some clickables as well. That would be really beneficial. You know, something that I could use by my own choice. You know, a couple of cooldowns or something. That would be a nice little addition. I don't think would be out of place from this sort of thing. I'm probably taking on more than I should be. Hell with it. Oh, I'm splitting way far away. You want to get a nice surround on the enemy if you can. See, you could even, if you could get, I'm not sure what sort of this takes up in regards to processing and stuff like that, but if you could sort of zoom the camera out as you get bigger and bigger, which is something that Agario does as well, and actually it's a lot of fun and it creates like some weird situations in it that's a cool game, man. For the silly little browser game it is, it's cool, and it'd be nice to see that concept played on more, something like this, you know, thematically very different, but it works. Do you know what? Instead of showing you any more enemies and stuff like that, I'm going to call that one there on this video, but join me for the next one. Stay around if you want. And to our last game, a game called Autonauts, which is, yeah, it's a pretty cool little concept. This is my world here. As you can see, the graphics are quite basic in a lot of ways. And that actually brought to me another point about these videos that I think is very interesting and something to be considered, is we as gamers don't often consider or think about what games look like in unfinished states, you know, just starting states, games that are just being sort of built and stuff like that, and actually showing that I think is beneficial to everyone to sort of see how games are made in the process of it. For the people that are interested, of course. If you're not, then you know you should be able to go out there and buy a game of what you want. But yeah, this is it seems like a cool little game. Played a couple of minutes just to get an idea of it. I think the idea is to become sort of autonomous in a lot of your day-to-day activities. So as I go to this Undiscovered Frog of War, it will open up. Yeah, so it's a crafting game, but with a bit more to it. It's probably more along the lines of a Factorio than anything else. So to start with, we want to grab a stick and a stone and create an axe. From here, I don't actually really know what we need to do, so I assume probably chop down some trees. I do like the cubist aesthetic, definitely. It's nice. But we need to then... Right, general storage. I am usually a bit of a storage whore in these games and like to have separate things for everything, so let's have a look at doing that. So if we chop up the log, we get planks. Oh, what happens if we chop up planks? We get sticks. Poles? 1 second, there is an inventory button somewhere. We'll plant our seed. Oh, we can't. Q? And is it I for inventory? So say we grab that. We need 4 planks for this. Okay. So yeah, it's immediately showing you sort of the core concept that you might expect in this game, sort of gathering your basic materials. And that's where games like this sort of your factorios and stuff actually become a lot more interesting. Instead of it just being about building up a base and progressing that way, it's a lot more about how many of these can you play? Can you carry infinite of one thing? No. It's about automation. So if I put these in here, cool. So what happens if I put this in here? Can I put another thing in here? No. Ah, so it's got the label on the top. That's cool. I like that. I like that because I often in games like this have to label or try and remember where I've stored everything, which is a nightmare because, as I say, I store everything. I think everything needs to be used. Minecraft is a nightmare for me because I end up with thousands and thousands of chests in a storage room. Yeah, this is the world, and we've got these dudes here. I wonder what they want. I'm not actually figured that much out yet. There is a basic tutorial given at this stage, which is kind of cool. I wonder if I can chop that down with my axe. Seedling tray, simple flooring. Workbenches are usually pretty important in this game. Why wouldn't that be done? Perhaps we need flooring, I saw was next. So what do we need to make flooring? Logs. Okay. But imagine if the graphics were tuned up just a touch or two, a nice bit of music playing in the background. This would be a very pleasant thing to play, I think. Sort of something very therapeutic and nice about sort of having simple goals of pushing forward. Simple goals of like, okay, I need, immediately it's, okay, I need to build a flooring to build this workbench. From this workbench I can look at it and get these basic materials together. Log, pole, stone. There's a couple of stones. And it's these short-term goals that lead you to sort of my axe broke. Lose hours to the game. It's something that it's well known in. I need to go hunting for some stone. Well known in Civilization, stuff like that. You constantly have a goal. You constantly have, okay, this is what I want to do to move forward. This is how I want to progress. An idea of what you want to be doing to be a bit better. So you always have that long-term aim and that short-term aim, and that's pretty fun to play in games. And looking from here, there's a fair amount put into this already. It always reminds me of a Factorio cross with a Minecraft cross with something like a... I can't find any bloody stone. I wonder if they'll be on the grey bit. What's that bloody game called? The one where you have a whole society and you've got to look out for them, It's a good game, honest. I don't need a pole. See, that whole little loop there was, okay, I need to go and find stone, so you had that short-term goal, because I needed the extra log for this, so that developed that short-term goal. And it all just... It wasn't log, was it? Oh, yes. And it all just interfeeds into each other. Rimworld, bloody Rimworld, great game. So it's a cross between, the classic cross of games. It's a cross between all those games, and there's similarities that I remind. And I can actually see, with a bit of work, this sort of idea, it seems to do really well. And I think games like this live and die on their sort of either systemic elements or actual interesting possibilities from the player. So I can create better things here. Scooter? Do you know what? It'll be on pause for a second, but my voice will still be there because there's a little guide, and it'd be nice to see what sort of things are in this game. From flooring, so right. It was. I need some more flooring first. You know, it's sort of thing where you'd add walls in later. You'd add all these little different things. Logs again. I wonder if I can carry 2 of those. They look bloody heavy, so I understand if not. But yeah, a bit of music's desperately needed. But it comes with time, and it seems like the game's in active development. So it's one so far that I think is worth checking out. Perhaps I need more flooring. Right, you two there. I want to try this one last thing because it seems like a little cool concept of getting these blokes around here to help you out and move forward. It's something in Factorio is bloody brilliant for that. You know, you're constantly tweaking your development to become more and more efficient. And I think, you know, automation games, they're not uncommon, but I think if done well, there's definitely room for some more out there. It's cool to see little games like this existing on Itch. You know, it gives little concepts and room to breathe, and people a place to, you know, test their mettle and sort of learn what it takes to make games, which I don't really know what it takes, to be honest. All I know is what games I like playing and what games I like looking at. So we need planks and logs. Always with the bloody logs. I'd love to work on a little project like this, but I mean, that's the brilliance of it these days, is now with Unity being open and Unity being an open source engine that everyone can use, anyone with a semi-decent PC can sort of go and do a couple of tutorials and try and pick up some of the real basics. Is it planks I needed? Yes. So we have to chop some of these logs up. That's 1, 2, 3. We need one more. Be nice if there's a little camera term. Always useful in games such as these. Let's see, I read on the little tutorial that... Oh, right. No, I'm not quite sure how you automate then. Let's have another quick nose. Worker assemble. What's this? So 2 logs, 2 planks and 2 poles. 2 logs. It's nice to have this zoom as well. No, I can't put that in my inventory. It's like, can I just, you know, put this in my pocket, this huge log? No, apparently not. I've just looked at the timer on this, and this video's running longer than the other two. It's because these games just really do that thing to you, if you getting into that zone. I meant to press a different button. And what's the last one? One more log. But then you can have action bars at the bottom, you know, which makes some of this a bit simpler. But that's all little bits of polish, you know. The core loop seems to, or the beginnings of the core loop anyway, seem to be here, and something that you can sort of see this essential. I put that in the wrong place, didn't I? Oh. What do we need? 2 planks and 2 poles. Okay. Well. And 2 poles. Now, so crude worker bot, 4 planks, 4 poles, and 1 crude gear. Okay, basically you can see you'll then get workers, which I can assume you can assign to things like chopping down trees, which will get you more wood, which you can use to build up another area over here, and so you take over the map. Now, I suppose the only thing, I see games like this as having 2 sort of enemies, so to speak, and the enemies are either a very physical enemy that's stopping you do what you want to do, or the enemy's production and being quicker and better and faster. And I think it would need to introduce one of those at some point, otherwise you are just creating things. But at the same time, this early games, man, early games, you've got room to move, room to improve. So I hope the game does that. And yeah, as with all these games, I didn't mention it at the beginning, links in the description, check it out if you want to play them. Props to these guys, and obviously good luck with making your games, motherfuckers.